All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most intimidating parts of any graduate degree, choosing that research topic. It can feel like standing in a fog, right? Well, today we're going to cut right through that chaos and give you a clear, step by step path to finding a topic you can be excited about. So, does this question hit home? If you're feeling overwhelmed, trust me, you are in very good company. The pressure to come up with something that's original, important, and, oh yeah, actually possible to do, it's a lot. But the good news is there's a method to the madness. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why this decision is such a big deal. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of turning a casual interest into a real research problem. We'll cover the secret weapon of narrowing your focus, how to read with a purpose, and finally, get you set up with the pro tools you absolutely need. Okay, let's just dive right in. Why is picking a topic so heavy? Well, because it's not just the first step, it's the foundation for your entire project. Everything, from the books you read to the methods you use, is going to hinge on this one decision. And look, don't just take my word for it. This quote from Cresswell and Cresswell really hits the nail on the head. You could be the most meticulous researcher on the planet, but if your topic is off, if it's too big, or if there's no real gap in the literature, the whole thing can fall apart before it even begins. The stakes are really, really high. So how do we make sure that doesn't happen? How do you go from a vague interest like, I'm kind of into that, to a rock-solid, researchable problem? That's the transformation we're going to walk through right now. And let's be super clear about what we mean by a research problem. It's not just a broad subject like technology in the classroom. No, it's a specific gap. It's a question nobody has a good answer for yet. It's a contradiction you found in the existing research. Your job is to pinpoint that gap. And the best way to find it starts with asking yourself some tough questions. First up, why? Seriously, what's your personal motivation here? A thesis is a long haul, and you're going to need more than just casual curiosity to get you through those late nights. You need a real passion for it. Okay, next question. What exactly are you looking at? Are you interested in the massive field of EFL writing instruction, or are you zeroing in on a very specific piece of it, like how digital feedback tools affect student writing? You have to move from the forest to a single tree. And this is the real test. Can you phrase your idea as 2 or 3 clear, specific, answerable questions? If you can't, that's a huge red flag that your topic is still way too fuzzy and you need to keep refining. And finally, let's get practical. The logistics. Do you actually have access to the people or the data you need to study? Can you get the right permissions from your institution? A brilliant idea that's impossible to execute is, well, useless. All of this leads us to what is, honestly, the most powerful tool in your arsenal, the art of narrowing. This isn't about thinking smaller, it's about thinking sharper. It's what separates amateur ideas from professional research. And the best way to picture this is as a funnel. This example shows the funnel in action, and it's just perfect. You start with this huge, sprawling topic, EFL writing instruction. Then you pour it into the funnel. Step 2, you narrow it by phenomenon. Okay, let's look at peer feedback. Step 3, narrow it by medium. Let's compare Facebook versus good old-fashioned paper. And finally, step 4, you narrow it by context in design. Now it's a specific study on first-year university students in Vietnam. See? You went from a vague idea to a powerful, focused, and totally manageable research project. So once you've got that narrowed down topic, your next job is to become the world's leading expert on it. And that means reading. Not just reading, but reading like a researcher. And reading like a researcher is about so much more than just collecting facts. You're actually building 4 different kinds of expertise at the same time. You're learning the content of your field, you're learning the methods other researchers use, you're understanding the big theories that frame the conversation, and you're even learning the genre, how to write and sound like a scholar in your field. So where do you find all this stuff? Well, your university library is your gateway to the gold. Google Scholar is a fantastic starting point for broad searches. But for the deep, peer-reviewed articles that will be the core of your work, you need to be using the powerhouse databases like JSTOR, EBSCOhost, and ProQuest. And hey, if you're in a field like applied linguistics, you should know the key journals. Getting familiar with publications like these is how you find the absolute best, most cutting-edge research to build your own study on. Now, as you start downloading dozens or even hundreds of articles, you need a system. This isn't just about being tidy. Mastering your citations from day one is a professional skill that will save you from a world of pain later on. Most of you will probably be using APA 7th edition, so let's quickly go over a few key updates you've got to know. Now, for any source with 3 or more authors, you use et al. Right from the very first time you mention it. You can also ditch the publisher's city in your reference list, and DOIs now look like a full clickable URL. Small details, yeah, but getting them right shows you're a pro. Now, please do not try to manage all of this by hand in a Word document. It's a recipe for disaster. While Word's built-in tool is okay, it's really limited. This is where you need a dedicated reference manager like Zotero or Mendeley. They're game changers. And let me just be really clear about this. For a project the size of a thesis, using a tool like Zotero isn't a nice to have. It's a professional necessity. It's free, it grabs citations from databases with a single click, and it builds your bibliography for you. It will save you hours and hours of tedious work. Just do it. And this brings us right back to where we started. Remember we talked about finding that gap? Well, this is how you do it. You read other people's research, and you actively look for the limitations, the weak spots, the questions they left unanswered. That's where your opportunity lies. So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Choosing a research topic is not some mystical act of genius. It is a structured, logical process. You can learn to do it. You go from a broad interest to a specific, focused, answerable question. It's a journey, and there are clear steps to follow. So let's put it all together. Here's your action plan. Start by asking yourself those hard questions about why you're doing this. Use that funnel method to narrow your focus. Read critically like a detective looking for clues. And get your Pro Toolkit set up. Learn APA 7 and install Zotero from day 1. So I'll leave you with this question. Stop thinking of your thesis as a hurdle you have to clear. Start thinking of it as an opportunity. It's your chance to add one new, important piece to the giant puzzle of human knowledge. So, what problem will you solve?